Welcome back to Ford Friday. We're once again working on our 2019 Ford Explorer. If you don't know what I'm talking about, links up there will get you caught up. Let's get back to work. So it looks like the painting gnome did its job. We can start putting this all back together. It's nice dull black. This Ford has an underhood color, aka too cheap to clear coat everything. First we'll put the strut up there. Put the nuts on the top of the strut, and we'll slide the bolts through the knuckle.
Now we'll install the strut tower brace because we want moms to be able to take corners at high speeds when the kids are late for soccer practice.
Tighten it all down. Tighten up the bolts in the knuckle. Put our sway bar link in there. Tighten up our sway bar link. Click. Now I can put the ABS wire on. So far it's survived this entire process. Clip it all in. I'll stuff it in there for now. Bolt it into the knuckle. Now we'll bolt in the support for our rubber baby buggy bumper. Mr. Spotty looks like he's feeling much better after his burn last week. Screw a rubber baby buggy bumper in. You don't want to cross thread it. Retapping those is a pain. I could drop our engine mount in. Slide the engine back a little bit, line up the bolts, get them all started. Tighten them all down. Tighten down the studs on the engine. I think you need some longer studs there, Ford. Now we can take our temporary engine mount out. Oh, motor didn't fall out, that's a good sign. I'll throw our tire up there. Now we can take our tower off. I think we're done pulling. I hope. It's all welded up. Throw our stands underneath it. And let it down. Unbolt our clamps. Unbolt the clamps on the other side. And lower the lift down. Now we can slide our clamps off. Taking them off is much easier than putting them on. Who needs the gym when you have a frame rack? Leave the car up on the stands just to make it extra fun. So now we can put the hood hinges in. Bolt them down.
We'll hammer down the edge of the fender where the old hinge hit it. Then we'll turn it over to the bodywork gnome and let him finish it up. That edge needs to be bent back over, and there's a couple dents on the outside.
You can put the hinge on the passenger side. This one's a little easier to get to without that pesky fender in the way. Bolt it down. Put our overflow bottle in. It's got a tab on the back that it slides into. Then 2 bolts. Now we put the lower cowl screen on. It's got a couple clips that snaps in. And time to put the hood up. At least Ford was nice enough to make an aluminum hood for me, so it's pretty light. Put the nuts on the back for the hinges. And we can put these on with the hood down. Bolt in our new airbag sensor, and then truss the other one. Since it took pretty much a direct hit, make sure it's in there. It's got a tab on it, so tightening it up, if the tab isn't aligned properly, it'll seem tight, but it's not. So just give it a little shake, make sure you got that tab all the way in. Now we're ready to set the radiator support in there. This is lots of fun. It's really awkward. It's not too heavy, but it's very awkward. Drop it down in that little spot there. Put a couple bolts in the top. And you can relax a little bit while you line up the other bolts. Put the AC line on the bottom just to get it out of the way. Now we can tighten up our bolts. There's some adjustment on there. I just center it, go from there. Put the AC line on the back of the condenser. And now we'll throw our radiator hoses on. Here's our awesome spring clamps. Yes, I know there's a tool for it. I have 3. Still don't like them. When they're easy to get to, the tool doesn't really help. It takes longer to use it than a pair of pliers. Now we'll do our trans lines. Slide our spring clamps up those. Put our riding harness up front for our horns. Put our little hood button in. This tells the car when the hood's open for the remote starter. Make sure you test it. Now the part I've been dreading. Gotta change the hood cable. So I got a cable cutter. Cut the end of it off. It only goes in one way, and that's from the back forward. So I had to cut the back of it off. Tape the used one onto it, and then just pull it through. Even with a guide, this isn't a fun job. So we'll climb under there and guide it through. Bet you didn't know I was a contortionist. If you can't get comfortable climbing under a dash, being a mechanic probably isn't for you. So we'll just take our time. Pull it through from the outside. Got to route the outside where it belongs as well. You can clip our cable into our handle, bolt it in. I think we're done. Now I can take off our horns and our hood latch. Make sure their horns don't fall, and end up throwing them into the engine. At least that bolt hit the ground. We can find it later. We'll run the hood cable through, clip it into our hood latch, snap the cable in, bolt the hood latch in, and now we put our horns in. The horns actually got an upgrade. For some reason, the used set had 2 horns, the original set only had 1. So we made some improvements after the accident. Plug our horns in. I'll throw our washer bottle up there. Line it up on the studs. And push it on. Bolt it in. Plug in our wiring harness. And now we gotta change the washer pump. The end was broke off our used one, but our original pump was still good, so we just swapped them out. Clip all of our washer lines in. And clip the hoses into the bottle. Plug in our washer pump. And now I'll put our air box in. Brand new from Ford. Bolt it down. Put our air filter in there. And then we'll put the top of the air cleaner in. We just need to put this in right now just so it runs. So we need to get it off the frame rack. Put the intake tube on. Tighten it up. I'll put the baffles up in the front. Slide them in there. Push the Christmas trees in. Put the baffle on the passenger side. And move the car off the frame rack into a corner. So now we can pull the air box back off. Unplug all the coils. Unplug the wiring harness around the front. We needed to pull this valve cover off. The cam actuator solenoids are busted. Probably from when the radiator support went back, it caught the top of them. So now we're going to pull the coils out. Coils have a nice pop to them, let you know they were fresh. Now we'll unbolt the valve cover. And disconnect the injector harness. Pull this harness out of the way so we're not trying to fight underneath it. There's only a couple grounds at the very end. We'll try to pull the valve cover off, but that actuator solenoid's in our way. And we'll just break it off. That works. Got a gasket that doesn't want to come with. We'll take that off of there, put a new gasket on. Now we can get to our solenoids. There's an intake and exhaust. They're different. They're actually color coded. One's gray, one's black. So we'll break the bolts loose, then we can spin them off by hand. Try not to drop them in there. That would really suck. Slide the solenoid out. Slide our new one in. This one has an electrical plug on it. The other ones must have been Bluetooth. Slide our other solenoid in there. The plugs on the other side are color coded too, so you don't mix them up. I guess you still can. You just gotta try harder. Click. Torque them down to manufacturer specs. Click. Put a little RTV silicone where the timing cover seals to the head. And we'll put our valve cover back on. We got our new gaskets in it. Just drop it in there. Easier said than done. Push it on and bolt it down. Now we're going to start running our wiring harness. Plug in all our fuel injectors, just snap the locks in, and plug in our harness. Plug in our oxygen sensors and drop our coils in there. Plug in our coil. Now on to the next one. One more. Now I can bolt them down. Oh, I gotta get the end of the old plug out of the solenoid connector so we can plug it into our new one. Bolt in the rest of our wiring harness. And now we can put our airbox in for the last time. Put all our breather tubes on. Put the clamp on the throttle body. Reconnect the battery. Tighten it down. I always disconnect the battery when I start pulling motors apart, just so nobody gets in it and accidentally starts it. So now that we're done with that, and our truck runs and there's no check engine lights, we can move on to the door. Unbolt the door check. Pull the wiring harness out. Just pull the gasket back so we can see the tabs. Pop the tabs out so we can get to the plug. Stuff the plug back in the pillar to get it out of our way. Take the bolts out of the hinges. And lift the door off. So, we went on a road trip a while back, pick up a door. If you were wondering what it's for, this is it. There's a link to the video up above if you want to check it out. I answered a few questions you guys had while we were driving along.
Apparently police cars come with standard door dings, because this is another Explorer that happened to be in the shop at the same time, and it has the exact same door dings as my used door.
So we'll set the door down onto the hinges, close it, bolt it back up. This door came off of a police interceptor, so it has an extra strap. That strap just reinforces the door check, because police car doors end up opening and closing a lot. Usually so they can get out and write me tickets. Now bolt the door check in. We'll put a little cavity wax in there. We'll use our wand later, but we got some big openings now and it's easy to get in there. A little extra won't hurt. So now we can bolt our fender on. Line up our door gap. And now we can put some antifreeze back in it. Hook up the antifreeze machine. Go find something to do for 5 minutes. Come back. Let it fill. Thirsty little guy. So much easier than letting it run, bleeding it out the hard way. Now we're going to get the Explorer apart so the painting gnome can show up and do his job. Pull the door speaker out. Then we'll bolt the bottom of the regulator from the door. We can't power up this window because apparently they're different. I tried plugging it in, window still didn't work. So we gotta do it the hard way. Pull the water barrier down. Get in there with the wrench and unbolt the window. Unbolt the top of the regulator and drop the whole regulator down. Put a wrench in there again. Unbolt the rest of the glass. And we can get it out of there. Slide it out of the way. And pull our window channel out. Pull the window sweep out of our way. Makes it easier to get the channel out. Now you take the belt molding off. Kind of pry it out. Now you take the lower molding off. Stuff the little trim tool in there to give us a little tension. And we'll squeeze the tabs on the back. Get to as many as we can from the inside. And we'll grab the rest of them from the outside. Until we lose patience. Then we'll just slide it off the clips and take the clips out later. Much easier without the molding in your way. Now we get the rear door apart. Pull the little cover off behind the handle. Pull the switches out. Unplug them. Now we get to the bolts. Get the bolts out of the bottom and pull it out of the clips. Disconnect the handle. Pull the window sweep out. Plug our switches back in. This window we can power up. So I'll lower it down a little bit. Fight with our water barrier. The glue decided it wanted to stay on the door. Fine with me. Lower the window down so we can see the tab. These just have a tab in the regulator. You push and the glass slides out. To put it back in, you just slide it down into the regulator. No tools. Just a screwdriver to poke it out. Put the regulator all the way down. We'll set the glass down gently so it doesn't clip back in or we got to start over. Now we get the rear window track out, which also holds the stationary glass. Pull the channel out. And now we can pull the glass out. Just that hole in the bottom is the only thing that clips it in. Pull the weather stripping off the back. So we can expose the little sticker that plugs the hole. Because we couldn't use a plug, those are too expensive. Unbolt the cap behind the door handle. Pull it out of there. Slide our door handle back. And pull our speaker out of the inside. Now we get our hand in there so we can get to the clips for the lower trim. Pop all the clips out. Lose patience on the last one. We also have to take out all the little rubber gaskets that go around the clips. They like to stick to the door. Just kind of pop them off of there and put them back on the clips for later. Unscrew the front of the belt molding. Pop it off its clips. And that's it. Now we can take the wheel liner off and the wheel opening molding off the fender. And then we're ready to turn it over to the painting gnome. So as soon as he's done, we can throw it all back together. A lot of push pins in this fender liner. Look, insulation on the inside, not a carpeted wheel liner. Accomplishes the same thing, without the mess. Yes, GM, I'm talking to you. So now when the wheel liner's out, we can get to the clips on the back of the wheel opening molding. Just squeeze them together, hold a little pressure out on the molding at the same time. If insurance is paying for it, you just break every clip. But since I'm paying for all those clips, I'll save them. And now we're ready to give it to the painting gnome. So that's it for our Explorer today. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you want to see more of this build or whatever else I'm working on. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.